I transmigrated into the only male ant in the whole nest. Every day I'm forced to deliver food to a group of female ants. Just when I thought that, in this life, I'd only be a relentless breeding machine, I suddenly got bound to the Zerg Overlord system. As long as I keep killing enemies, I can evolve. I immediately perked up, right as I was about to flip the table and go on strike. A sudden noise came from outside the ant nest. Pour all that plaster in here. As long as we make an ant colony model, our livestream will definitely blow up. The next second, white plaster started flowing through the gaps in the soil. I watched as the entire ant colony was about to be wiped out. Suddenly, the system notification chimed. Host is facing an extinction-level crisis. System is distributing a newbie survival gift pack. Reward, basic pheromone command. Can consume mental power. Issue mandatory command. Forces nearby Zerg to obey the host's orders. Reward, geological exploration. Can detect geological structures within a 10-meter radius, including space and life forms. I swung my forelegs sharply and instantly activated geological exploration without hesitation. In a flash, a three-dimensional map appeared in my mind. I immediately locked onto an earthworm tunnel up ahead on the left. Then I pushed my mental power to the max, releasing a powerful pheromone. I commanded all soldier ants to abandon the main entrance and dig into the dirt wall ahead. The moment they received the order, the largest soldier ant nearest me was the first to submit. He turned sharply and charged at the dirt wall. Wielding his massive jaws, he furiously started digging. Following his lead, hundreds of worker and soldier ants rushed toward the wall. I stared intently at the rapidly thinning dirt wall. Faster! Suddenly, with a muffled boom, the hard dirt wall was finally breached all the way through. The surviving ants scrambled into the earthworm tunnel, just as the last batch of worker ants retreated. The white plaster slurry surged in like a mudslide, completely sealing the way we came. The surviving ants huddled closely together. They instinctively gathered around me in the center, gently touching my body with their soft antennae. I went along and raised my forelegs, patted the giant soldier ant's hard head. Nice job. Just then, the system notification chimed in my mind again. Urgent mission complete. Mission rating, perfect. Reward 10 evolution points. Unlocked individual status panel and basic combat order. I couldn't wait to open the panel, but when I saw my power was just 0.3, I helplessly touched my antennae. Normal worker ants have a way higher base stat. So how did mine get nerf-fed so bad? I looked down at my somewhat frail body. Could it be because I fooled around too much with those female ants before? But at least, my mental stat is actually as high as 5. For humans, the standard value is only about 3, which means one can totally control this whole group of muscle-bound ants before me. I hadn't even caught my breath yet when a sudden tremor came from deep in the tunnel. I immediately checked the system map. A huge red dot was rapidly approaching me. Turned out to be a 20-centimeter long earthworm. But I wasn't scared. Instead, I got excited and started waving my antennae. Perfect. I was just wondering how to get more evolution points. Guess I'll start by warming up on you. The very next second, the dirt wall ahead suddenly split open. A large, thick pink body squeezed its way in. The foul-smelling slime dripped onto the ground. The strong worker ants immediately went into chaos. I instantly unleashed a powerful compulsory hormone command, suppressing the entire ant colony's panic. All worker ants lined up against the wall, then retreated 20 centimeters, standing by. The colony instantly split to both sides, clearing the pathway in the middle. That giant earthworm seemed to sense something was off. Massive body paused. I stared hard at its squirming form. Using my biology knowledge from my previous life, my gaze locked right onto its 16th body segment. All soldier ants attack target. The lower middle section. Bite through it. The giant soldier ants rushed ahead on command, opening their sharp jaws and biting deep into the earthworm's body. The worm's massive body twisted violently. Several worker ants were flung hard against the wall. They hit the earth wall and didn't get back up. There were casualties. But under my pressure, even more soldier ants kept piling on. They bit down and held tight to the target spot, refusing to let go, no matter how violently the worm thrashed. With their frenzied bites, the earthworm's body finally convulsed violently. The rear half suddenly went limp on the ground. Seizing the opportunity, I lunged forward and bit down on its wound, completely crushing that cluster of fragile ganglia. The earthworm's massive body jerked once, then finally stopped moving. The system panel popped up right on cue. Congratulations, host, for killing a D-rank earthworm. Received 15 evolution points, now totaling 25 points. Detected high-energy biological tissue available for absorption. Used 20 points to unlock and fuse the basic regeneration gene. I lifted my foreleg and hit confirm. A wave of scorching energy instantly spread from my abdomen through my entire body. I curled up all 6 legs in pain, rolling to the side and breathing hard. The ants around me instinctively formed a tight crowd, all their antennae pointing toward me. I don't know how long passed, but the scorching feeling finally faded. As I stood up again, I was delighted to find my size had actually increased an entire circle. My previously soft abdomen had turned into a hard shell. Even my massive jaws were as sharp as scissors. The system panel refreshed. Evolution complete. Power 1.2, Speed 1, Defense 0.7, Mental 5.3, unlocked. Passive skill, Basic Regeneration. I stood atop the earthworm's massive corpse, looking down at the group, all present and accounted for. Cut up this monster's corpse and carry it as a food reserve. The worker ants immediately began cutting up pieces of meat. As for me, I wasn't idle either, using the geological exploration to keep track of safe directions. As the team advanced steadily, on the geological scan, a fast-moving butterfly suddenly appeared, lurking at the top of the passageway ahead. Before I could even send a warning, out of the darkness, a few thick barbed spears shot out, instantly skewering 2 pathfinding worker ants. Looking closely, it turned out to be a spider as big as an adult's fist. Its eyes glowed red in the dark. Although, right now my absolute strength can't match this spider. But with my superior mental power and the ant colony's teamwork, I could totally go for a fight. So I immediately released a strong battle pheromone. And the next moment, all worker ants fanned out to encircle the spider. Seeing this, the spider instantly shrieked. It lunged at me with its 8 long legs. But I had already predicted its every move. I suddenly pushed off hard with my hind legs. My whole body shot out like a spring. Not only did I easily dodge its deadly pounce and bite, I also closed in on its side in the process. Meanwhile, the soldier ants were biting tightly onto the ground boar's legs. The ground boar, under attack, began to struggle violently. Its immense strength sent several soldier ants flying to the ground. But that brief distraction was enough for me. With the help of the earthen wall next to me, I suddenly rebounded, launching a counterattack. Landing precisely on the back of the ground boar, I aimed directly at its head, the fragile joint connecting the chest and abdomen, and bit down hard. The next instant, nauseating body fluids gushed out. The ground boar let out a shrill, miserable scream as all 8 legs thrashed wildly, trying to throw me off. But I held on tight and refused to let go. I even pulled and tore desperately inward, with a crisp snapping sound. I completely severed the ground boar's nerve center. Its massive body collapsed with a thud. At that moment, the system prompt sounded. Congratulations, host, you have slain a C-rank edited ground boar. Earned 18 evolution points. Current total, 23 points.
Hearing the rewards notification,
I happily shook off the remaining fluids from my giant crocodile jaws. I also hacked up the spider to take it with me. With previous experience, the worker ants skillfully dismantled the new spoils. Then our team continued deeper inside. 2 hours later, a wide and concealed underground tunnel was finally dug through. I led the ant colony inside. As soon as I stepped into this new space, I immediately sensed something was wrong. It turned out there was already a group of ants in control here. I saw numerous chunks of meat piled up in the corner. Dozens of worker ants and soldier ants gathered in the center. At their core lay a large and fat male ant, with 9 lofty, well-fed queen ants around him. After the male ant spotted me,
he didn't hold back at all,
and released a wave of hostile low-grade pheromones. Seeing this, I let out a cold laugh. Instantly, a wave of high-pressure pheromones full of dominance surged within me. The male ant felt absolute hierarchy suppression. instantly freezing in place. I gave the male ant no chance to react at all, pushing off with my hind legs and pouncing upward. My giant crocodile jaws clamped tightly around its neck. There was a gruesome crunch, and I instantly bit through its head case. Green fluid splashed out. Its bloated body twitched a few times, then lay still for good. The next moment, the system panel popped up with a line of golden text. Successfully eliminated a rival of the same species. Gained 1 evolution point. With that, I instantly understood. Looks like only killing species, much stronger than myself, could earn more evolution points. Now that I had a new objective, I could start by setting up my own camp. After all, in this cruel, underground world, the first priority is to build the queen's nest as quickly as possible. Only then can I better fend off attacks from other creatures. So I immediately released precise pheromone commands, dividing this open space into 3 main areas. The outer part is for grain storage. The center is the nursery area. And the safest spot is the core queen's chamber. The moment the orders were given, the entire ant colony began to function like a precision machine. Everything started operating. The worker ants quickly cleaned up the area with dainty steps. The soldier ants spread out in neat formation, catalyzed by my pheromones. The queen ants had already started laying eggs efficiently. As long as we make it through the incubation period, I'll have an army entirely my own. On the 3rd day after the queen's nest was built, the first batch of eggs finally hatched. Nearly 100 plump white larvae were wriggling around in search of food. I turned to look at the now empty grain storage area. The remaining meat would last only 2 more days at most. And lately, the worker ants were bringing back less and less food. We definitely have to go deeper to find something to eat. Just as I was planning the next foraging operation, a heavy set of footsteps sounded above the ant nest. Last time we searched for ages but couldn't find the nest, causing our livestream viewers to drop by half. This time, no matter what, we have to get some new insect specimens. Otherwise, even our top supporter will leave. Hearing those words, I instantly recognized that voice. It was those same 2 men who wanted to make my nest into a model. I coldly twitched my antennae just in time. It's time to settle both old and new scores. This time, I'll make sure you both lose your skin. I immediately expanded the range of the geological scan. Soon, at a spot 8 meters to the northeast, an orange signal appeared. It was a Zerg juvenile centipede. Its biggest trait was the ability to release powerful toxins. I bumped my head excitedly. This was practically a godsend weapon. A perfect opportunity to use it for a borrowed knife kill. So I released a strong pheromone command and started picking my soldiers. You 13, come with me. The rest, guard the nest. All the ants receiving orders quickly followed me. We climbed up the tunnel all the way. It wasn't long before we saw faint surface light. We saw 2 humans squatting by a stone slab. One, wearing gloves, stuffed a beetle into a plastic case. The person holding up a phone waved the camera. This hammer-headed beetle has a nice look. It'll sell for at least 3,000 if we make it a specimen. The gloved person closed the case. Don't kill it yet. Wait until we've peeled it, then soak it in chemicals. Live dissection on camera is a better show. Hearing that, I twitched my antennae in excitement. Live insects are top quality food. Looks like this time I'll get revenge. And earn a good number of evolution points in the process. With a target in mind, I immediately led the squad in a new direction, moving through the shallow layer of soil, heading straight for the centipede's location. When I paused right beneath the centipede, those 2 humans were already less than 2 meters from us. I quickly signaled the male ants to dig upward, so we connected right under the centipede's belly. Be sure not to touch its carapace. 10 male ants quickly split into 2 groups and chewed away. While they dug, I led 3 soldier ants and quietly emerged from the other side of the ground. The 2 humans were bending to dig the soil, completely unaware of what was happening beneath their feet. I crept to the edge of a bit of rotten wood and saw the centipede's tail, with a segment of dark red carapace exposed. Meanwhile, the underground tunnel was finally through. The soil under the centipede was now just a paper-thin layer. At that, I unleashed my battle pheromones without hesitation. Bite its tail and run. 3 soldier ants instantly bit onto the centipede's last segment. Racked with pain, The centipede snapped its half-meter-long body straight and shot out from under the rotting wood in a frenzy. Crazed and in a panic, it dove straight into one of the human's pant cuffs, felt a foreign object enter the body. That person suddenly jumped up. Something went inside. A cold feeling followed.
He frantically swung his right leg.
Trying to kick out whatever was inside. There was a muffled smack sound. He finally flung that dark red poisonous bug and sent it flying onto a tree trunk. But just as he let out a sigh of relief, he suddenly noticed the inside of his ankle. Now had 2 deep writ wounds bleeding.
He clutched his ankle tightly.
It hurts so bad, my foot feels like it's breaking. Let's see what that thing is. The other guy tossed his phone down and rushed over to check the wound. He gasped after seeing the bug on the ground. Crap, that's a head centipede. It's highly venomous. Forget the stream. Hurry to the hospital. The bitten man gripped his friend's shoulder tightly. The 2 of them scrambled out of the woods. After making sure the humans were gone, I slowly crawled out from behind the rotting log and headed straight for the backpack they left behind. Time to count up this round of spoils. 6 clear plastic containers lay scattered on the grass, all filled with live bugs slamming against the walls. 2 glossy, shining click beetles, a fat, greasy rhinoceros beetle larva, 2 hairy venomous spiders, and 1 fierce, big black armored bug. Every one of them is pure, high-quality meat. Then I slipped into the backpack through a gap in the zipper. Inside, it was stuffed with compressed biscuits, beef jerky, and hard candy. These high-calorie foods are enough to feed the whole ant nest for a week. But what I really craved were those insects. Since they'd been locked in plastic cases for a long time, they basically had no fighting ability. So I immediately led my crew to attack. And in a few quick moves, the battle was over. As the last prey fell, a system notification sounded. Congratulations, host. You have defeated advanced insect species and gained a huge amount of biomass. High purity protein detected. Special high-calorie human food. Gene pool starting forced recombination. Congratulations, host. You have broken through a class barrier. Bone hardness increased by 500%. I nodded in satisfaction. After absorbing all this energy, my overall combat power increased tenfold. Then I looked at the rest of the prime meat. A thought suddenly crossed my mind. If I gave these nutrient-rich prey to the other ants, could it make them stronger too? To test this theory, I deliberately took the juiciest piece of rhinoceros beetle larva and gave the best chunk of meat to a soldier ant next to me. After that soldier ant gulped down the bug's flesh, its body actually started to tremble slightly. Not long after, its size visibly increased. The originally dark red carapace took on a layer of hard metallic sheen. Seeing this, I happily waved my little claws. Awesome, it actually worked. Looks like the rise of the ant tribe is just around the corner. Satisfied, I issued the carry order. Bring it all back. Don't leave a single crumb. Returning fully loaded. After returning to the nest, the worker ants had already filled the storage area to the brim. Even the biscuit crumbs were piled into the passageway. Seeing the well-stocked home, I contentedly rubbed my now thicker forelimbs. This loot is enough for the colony to eat for 10 days. In 10 days, the number of mutations will double. By then, my rule over the underground world won't be far off. I had just turned around, ready to head back to the core for a rest. Suddenly, the geological exploration system detected a new signal. 10 meters directly beneath the nest, a massive red signal source appeared, and it was slowly moving upward. I stared intently. It was a creature with 8 abdominal limbs. A desert animal with neurotoxin glands at the tip of its tail. How thrilling. I kept my eyes fixed on the glowing dot on the monitor. I realized it was now less than 6 meters from the bottom of the nest. I knocked on the hard rock wall, then turned and looked at the evolved soldier ant by my side. The thing was slowly moving up the fissure. At most, it would break into our hatching chamber in 20 minutes. That place was full of freshly hatched larvae. There was absolutely no way to escape. After all, the larvae didn't even have fully formed legs yet. But right now, throughout the entire colony, you're the only one who's completed evolution. So we have to outsmart it. To find a suitable spot for an ambush, I quickly climbed up the rock wall. With my giant mandible, I made a deep mark 4 meters above the crack. A deep groove as my ambush point. This is where we'll set up our ambush. The fissure here is just wide enough for it to squeeze through. It definitely won't be able to spread its deadly forelimbs here. Once the tactics were set, I quickly released an emergency assembly pheromone. With the evolved soldier ant and 20 worker ants, I rushed down quickly. We arrived at the designated spot. I waved my forelimbs, gesturing forcefully at the rock wall. You guys, immediately dig a cross-section 2 centimeters wide here, and 5 centimeters deep. The workers who received my command instantly started moving their mandibles. They began digging. Then I personally stepped in to tidy up the pit walls, carefully shaping them into a sloped groove trap. Before long, the enemy's forelimbs stuck out from the crack. Its massive body squeezed out inch by inch. I held my breath, quietly waiting for it to get stuck in the trap, accompanied by a muffled sound of rock scraping. The front half of the scorpion's body was tightly wedged between the narrowest part of the fissure walls. It immediately pinned down its proud giant claws. Seeing that, I leapt down. With precision, my giant mandible bit right through its back armor, cutting through the third intersegmental membrane. I swung my antenna fiercely, sending the attack signal. Go! The evolved soldier ant quickly lunged forward, biting tightly at the joint at the base of the scorpion's tail. The golden scorpion began thrashing madly. The 20 ambushing worker ants seized the opportunity and climbed inside through gaps in the carapace, ferociously gnawing at its vulnerable insides. In just 4 minutes, the scorpion twitched twice, then went completely still. Just then, the system popped up an alert at the perfect moment. It detected a C+ class neurotoxin gene fragment, ready for extraction. After extracting, the colony can hatch stinger soldier ants, complete with trace amounts of neuroprolytic toxin. Host, would you like to extract? I was thrilled. This reward was exactly what we needed. With our own stinger soldiers, whether for hunting or facing enemies, we finally had a deadly trump card, so I didn't hesitate to hit confirm. A second later, the sound of pupae breaking densely echoed from the depths of the hatching chamber. The originally pale larvae skins instantly hardened, shimmering with a bluish sheen. On their tails, sharp venomous stingers suddenly grew out. Deadly toxins began to seep out. The genetic sequence of the entire colony was completely reorganized at that moment. I gently tapped the carapace of the nearest stinger soldier with my antenna, feeling its surface. This level of hardness is way above that of ordinary soldier ants. But for future survival, that's still nowhere near enough. After all, ants' weaknesses are obvious. They're just too small. Any slightly larger insectivore could wipe us out easily. So the hunting range definitely has to expand. I decisively activated the geological probe system. At first, there were just a few faint green dots on the radar, mostly earthworms or false positives from deer. Such tiny prey for an expanding colony is not even enough to fill the gaps in our teeth. So I cranked up the probe's depth and coverage to the max. And right at that moment, 12 meters underground to the southwest, a heavy tremor shook the earth. Moments later, a huge yellow signal burst into detection range. This giant was frantically digging at the surface, charging straight in our direction. I immediately mobilized the group to hide. Soon, a Chinese pangolin dug out a pit in the ground. Seeing that, I shot my antenna straight up. It was actually a pangolin. That's the nemesis of ants. Looks like this won't be easy. Stinger Soldier No.1 also seemed to sense something unusual. He started swinging his sharp pincers angrily, emitting a storm of agitated pheromones. I soothed him with my antenna and quickly assessed the two sides' strength in my mind. This pangolin's scales are extremely tough. Absolutely can't let the colony fight it head on. But it's not without weaknesses. Its fatal flaw is in the gaps between its scales, the abdomen and ear canals. All we need is the right opportunity to inject neuroprolytic toxin into those soft spots, and it'll be completely paralyzed. I quickly conveyed the attack order to all Stinger soldiers. 5 of them hid inside the earth walls on either side of the main tunnel entrance. Wait for the pangolin's tongue to come in, then pounce from both sides. Climb up towards the tongue root. Target the inner mouth walls and nasal cavity. Number 8. Take the side tunnel. Circle around to the pangolin's left. Wait till it sticks its head up and exposes its ear canal. Everyone else, follow me through the deepest underground tunnel. Dig upwards from directly below, and strike for the abdomen. Once they got the command, Stinger Soldier No.1 excitedly scraped the ground twice with his claws. When I saw it, I knocked him on the head with my antenna to calm him. Calm down, the toxin supply is limited. Every sting has to get into soft tissue. Stinging the scales is just a waste. After hearing my warning, Stinger Soldier No.1 crouched low in acknowledgement. As all the ant soldiers rapidly moved into position, the pangolin's digging noise grew even closer. With a heavy cracking sound, a fist-sized hole was ripped open in the outer wall of the main tunnel. Then a grayish-white long tongue shot in viciously through the hole. It flicked rapidly across the tunnel floor. The tongue didn't catch any prey, and quickly retracted. But a few seconds later, it lashed in again, and this time, went straight to the tunnel junction. Seeing this, I knew it was time to counterattack. I waved my forelimbs sharply. Go! And my command. 5 Stinger Soldier ants instantly burst out from the earth walls on both sides, landing precisely on the slippery tongue surface. All 6 legs scrambling at full power, clawing upward toward the tongue root. Startled, the pangolin yanked its long tongue back with great force. Using this momentum, 3 Stinger Soldiers managed to reach the mouth. Quickly, they flipped their tails and drove their stingers fiercely into the soft tissue of the upper jaw. The pangolin let out a deep, muffled groan, frantically clutching its mouth with its front paws, while its defenses were down. I waved my antenna. Issue new commands. 8 venomous soldier ants immediately charge out from the side tunnel entrance. They quickly climb up through the gaps in the pangolin's scales. In the blink of an eye, the venomous soldier ants burrow into its ear canal, releasing their toxin. A large amount of neurotoxic venom takes effect. Soon after, the pangolin's left forelimb loses control. Its fragile abdomen completely lifts off the ground. Seeing this opening, I lead the evolved soldier ants without hesitation, burrowing up from directly below, using the giant jaws to bite through the pangolin's abdomen. Tearing it open, the evolved soldier ants immediately pounce. 2 squads of enhanced giant jaws attack simultaneously on its soft tissue, forcefully tear open a 3 centimeters long gash. After suffering a fatal blow, the pangolin's massive body crashes to the ground, losing all signs of life. At that moment, the system's mechanical voice sounds just in time. Congratulations to the host for killing a gray bee creature, Chinese pangolin. Gained a large amount of advanced biomass. Detected that pangolin's scales contain special keratin structure. Can enhance the exoskeleton toughness of the ant colony. Extract it? Faced with the system notification, I quickly confirm in my mind. The next second, all soldier ants' bodies begin to undergo intense transformation. Their previously dark brown exoskeletons quickly take on a metallic sheen. Their size suddenly increases. At the same time, sharp barbs grow along the edges. I take the opportunity to climb onto the pangolin's corpse. Everyone has them. Immediately start to completely dismember this prey for me. Don't leave a single piece of meat behind. The soldier ants swarm in from all directions. Begin methodically dissecting the massive body. After a full 6 hours of hard work, the enormous pangolin is finally fully dismembered by the worker ants and carried away. Looking at the food piled like a mountain, I arrange the logistics properly, then begin thinking about the next steps for the colony. As the colony grows, the underground space and resources are no longer enough to support our long-term development. So I decide to lead the team to explore the surface. To ensure safety, I activate the geological exploration system, preparing to scan for potential dangers around the surface. When the detection radius expands to 60 meters, on the ground to the southwest, an anomalous signal suddenly appears. I focus intently on the scan images in my mind, with regular right-angle outlines and smooth surfaces, and clear metal reflection waves. This means there is definitely a man-made structure on the surface. I then select the evolved soldier ants and 10 venomous soldier ants to go with me. Target: the ground to the southwest. After assembling, the team heads upward along the underground tunnels. Certain destruction. Just as we're about to break through to the surface, the evolved soldier ant at the very front is a bit nervous, rubbing against, and at the same time, using its 2 forelimbs, keeps tapping on the hard metal. Watching its movements, one immediately understands there must be an extremely hard obstacle ahead. Even the giant jaws can't penetrate it. Once we figured out the situation, I immediately crawled forward to investigate. What caught my eye was a severely rusted sheet of tin. A few broken wires still hung from the edges. I waved my antennae, directing the worker ants behind me. We continued enlarging the opening along the edge of the metal sheet.
10 minutes later.
A pitch-black indoor space appeared before me to ensure our safety. I was the first to crawl inside. As soon as I entered, the geological exploration system automatically switched to indoor scanning mode. On the display, a 12-square-meter room was clearly presented. I quickly scanned the entire room. After confirming there were no threats, I turned and gave commands to the team behind me. No biological signals detected. The environment is secure. Everyone, come in. Then I slowly walked to the wall, looking at something lying on the ground, a nameplate that had mostly fallen off. I turned to the evolutionary soldier ant. This is an abandoned field laboratory. Go check what's inside those metal boxes by the wall. One of the box locks had burst open, leaving a thin crack. I maneuvered my body sideways and squeezed in with all my strength. As soon as I poked my head in, I recognized high-purity aluminum alloy sheets, miniature circuit boards, and stainless steel screws, as well as a set of microlenses. Seeing these precious strategic materials, I suddenly remembered that in the system store, there was a technology called the microscopic material analyzer, an overpowered piece of tech. It requires a light source and data transmission medium to be unlocked. So without hesitation, I continued to explore deeper. After some searching, in a corner at the deepest part, I soon found a small bag of scattered LED bulbs, along with several discarded light sources. When my antennae touched these objects again, the crisp electronic tone of the system sounded. All materials collected. The microscopic material analyzer is now officially unlocked. Purchase? I immediately chose to confirm. In a split second, a huge and complex data stream surged wildly into my neural center. In my compound eye's view, the curved surfaces of the lenses and the molecular structures of the circuit boards actually began to break down layer by layer as holographic images. But the surprises didn't stop there. Just as the material analysis finished, a dazzling system alert appeared on the panel, accompanied by a piercing system warning sound. The alert echoed loudly, indicating that the host had absorbed enough high-purity metal material. Sample points have activated the hidden tech tree. Current level, Level 1. Exoskeleton metallization coating successfully activated. Defense increased by 800%. Seeing this, I was overjoyed.
Damn.
This is literally a skill tailor-made just for me. With this layer of absolute defense, who in this underground world could threaten me now? As soon as I confirmed the activation, a scorching stream of heat suddenly burst out from my abdominal core, spreading rapidly through my entire body along my neural network. I looked at my forelegs in astonishment, only to see a layer of icy cold metallic sheen spreading over my carapace at a speed visible to the naked eye, consuming my original shell almost instantly. To test the limits of this armor's strength, I suddenly raised my foreleg, slammed it down hard on a stainless steel screw beneath me, accompanied by a screech of metal on metal. The hard screw's surface was forcibly dented by a clear, deep mark. Seeing this incredible destructive power, I nodded in satisfaction, then turned to look at the evolutionary soldier beside me. By now, he had also completed his transformation. From head to toe, his entire body gleamed with an intimidating metallic luster as well. Looking at this newly reborn steel legion before me, I circled the soldier ant in satisfaction. Then, lifting my foreleg imposingly, I commanded, "Empty out this laboratory completely." But just as I gave the order, the microscopic material analyzer suddenly started deep scan mode on its own. An ear-piercing alarm immediately rang out, echoing wildly in my mind. Detection. On the outer side of the lab's west wall, at a distance of 3 meters, there is an enormous underground cavity. Inside the cavity, an extremely dense biological thermal signal is emanating. The current scan count has exceeded 10,000. Cross-checked with the database, the signal characteristics are a perfect match for albino termites. It's estimated that there are between 50,000 to 80,000 enemies. Threat level confirmed as Grade A. Facing this sudden existential threat, my heart sank. The soldier ants among the albino termites can spray deadly, highly acidic fluid, while all of my own kind totaled barely 1,000 ants. A difference of hundreds of times in numbers is simply insurmountable. Thinking of this, I looked down at the metallic fabric I had just obtained.
Damn.
But so what? No matter how strong their acid is, can it melt my metal armor? Even with such a massive difference in numbers, as long as our tactics are right, I'll make these termites understand who the true ruler of these underground tunnels really is. Once I made up my mind, I immediately released a powerful, low-frequency pheromone of intimidation. All troops, hold your positions. Stay concealed and quiet. Once the troops were settled, I crawled along the base of the wall to its weakest point, pressing my entire body against the wall to probe. I quickly figured out the enemy's details. This termite nest is located 7 meters underground. Not only is there a large amount of fungus soil surrounding it, serving as a buffer zone, but a total of 12 outlets are scattered along its outermost layer. Countless termites, with soldier ants stationed both inside and outside in layers, have formed 3 tight defensive rings. When my scanning wave reached the center, a tremendously large life signal came into view. Judging from its terrifying size and heat, it can only be the termite queen, laying at least 3,000 eggs a day. At this, I quickly twitched my antennae. There are too many termites to attack directly. A frontal assault is impossible. But the principle of capture the king to catch the thieves applies on both human and insect battlefields. It works everywhere. So I decided to go for a sneak attack. Pointing to the floor ahead, evolutionary soldier ant, you break through in front. 5 venomous stinger soldier ants on the main assault with me, while the rest stay in the lab to block the entrance. If the termites counterattack, use your metal armor to block the passage completely. The soldier ants all snapped their massive jaws in unison. Immediately, they used their metallized jaws to bite open the dirt below the floor. The worker ants in the rear quickly cleared out a segment, so the entire tunnel descended at a rate of 0.5 meter per minute. I kept my eyes fixed on the thermal signals on the analyzer. The termite patrol squads kept wandering aimlessly above, totally unaware of me. I sneered. These fools who only act by instinct don't even realize someone is tunneling right beneath their feet. Just wait for complete annihilation. Then, I signaled an attack to the evolutionary soldier ant. At my command, the evolutionary soldier ant sprang into action, and the 3 nearest termites didn't even have a chance to react before being sliced in half by the razor-sharp jaws. Seeing this, the remaining termites scattered in panic in all directions. I swung my massive mandibles with all my strength, charging forward at full speed. Covered by the evolved soldier ants, I led 5 venom stinger soldier ants over the drum lines, heading straight toward the position marked by the analyzer. Just as we were about to reach our target, 300 termites suddenly surged out from the end of the tunnel. Their heads were unusually large, with strange cone-shaped nozzles at the front. I knew those were filled with highly concentrated acetic acid. But before I could give new orders, the first 20 termites aimed their nozzles straight at me. In an instant, a pungent acidic liquid was sprayed out, hitting the evolved soldier ants with deadly precision. Their hard, metal-like exoskeletons were quickly enveloped in a cloud of acrid white smoke. Hit by the blast, the evolved soldier ants faltered for a moment. I immediately looked down and scanned the exoskeleton surface. The corrosion was only 0.02 millimeters deep. As for our metallic coating, the total thickness was as much as 1.8 millimeters. Looking at this huge gap in numbers, I coldly shook my antennae. At this rate, they'd have to spray 90 rounds non-stop just to pierce my Icewing exoskeleton. If that's all they've got, they think they can stop me? So, I climbed right over the evolved Icewing's body and plunged my stinger deep into a termite. Then I swung my massive mandibles fiercely, instantly splitting several nearby termite soldiers clean in half. Sour green bodily fluid splattered onto my forelegs, but didn't even leave a single spot. At the same time, the evolved soldier ants charged into the enemy lines right behind me. Their huge mandibles swept left and right, each swing taking out a wave of termites. Faced with overwhelming force, the enemy termites were quickly wiped out. and we suffered 0 losses. With the obstacles cleared, the queen termite was finally exposed ahead of us. New eggs were constantly being produced from her abdomen. Worker ants nearby were hurrying to carry the fresh eggs. Seeing this, I turned to the venom stinger soldiers next to me. You guys burrow quietly into the dirt walls from both sides and circle around right under the queen's massive abdomen. Then release your venom at the same time. No need to kill her. Just make sure she's completely paralyzed. The venom stinger ants received the order and quickly dug into the earth, emerged precisely right under the queen's abdomen from beneath the soil, and injected a large amount of nerve-paralyzing venom into her body. After taking such a serious hit, her massive body convulsed violently twice, and then collapsed fully onto the ground. Her ovipositor that had been wriggling nonstop froze up completely. Seeing this, the once ferocious guard ants instantly panicked. With victory in sight, I stepped onto an evolved soldier ant's back and entered the royal chamber. Circled around the collapsed queen termite once, the analyzer quickly gave a scan report. A familiar system panel popped up in my view right after. High-value biological gene bank detected. Incorporate this queen into the ant colony. Special note: incorporating her unlocks the acid soldier ant production line. I was instantly delighted. Great, with acid soldier ants, our nest's defensive weakness will be completely fixed. No more worries about those stubborn shell-armored enemies. So, I hit the confirm button without hesitation. A second later, the queen termite's body shivered uncontrollably. A dazzling mark appeared at the tip of her abdomen. This means all her egg-laying commands will be issued by me alone. I extended my antennae and gently tapped her weak head. From today on, your name will be Sally. Stay close to me. I won't let you suffer any loss. Sally's previously drooping antennae trembled slightly. She wiggled against my forelimbs in a pleasing way. 5 days later, the first batch of acidic ice ants hatched. Looking at this new force, I rubbed my forelimbs in satisfaction. I was about to bring up the system panel to check their detailed data when sudden movement came from the depths of the incubation chamber. I rushed to the scene promptly. Several first-generation evolved ice ants were crouched at the edge of the hatching pool, watching a nest of newly hatched creatures. These were the result of mating with termites. These dozens of little things look just like a creator's disaster. Their left side inherits the heavy metal armor of the evolved soldiers, while their right side looks like a floppy green water balloon. Their 6 legs grew at random, some long in front and short in back. Some even grew directly on their backs. Standing up, they looked like a bunch of drunk spiders. When walking, they spun wildly in circles on the spot. One hybrid seemed to want to show off its strength and strained hard trying to spray acid. But its crooked nozzle bent a full 180 degrees, precisely spraying its own head. Then he rolled painfully on the spot and knocked down several brothers spinning nearby. All of them were knocked over. Watching this chaos of freaks, I rubbed my forehead with my forelimb in frustration. Although everyone here is a mutant ant now, these illiterate soldier ants who can't control themselves really don't care at all about reproductive isolation. They mix breeds recklessly and produce who knows what. So I immediately opened the system mall interface and spent 500 evolution points to exchange for a gene-stabilizing anchoring agent. The next moment, a vial of the agent appeared between my forelimbs out of thin air. I walked over to Sally and stabbed the tip of the vial into the nerve node in her abdomen. Sally's massive body convulsed violently. She twisted her swollen abdomen painfully. I gently moved aside her flailing antennae. Bear with it, this is for the future of our colony. After finishing your injection, the rest of the agent will be divided among the other queens, so that future eggs won't all turn out to be those foolish ones spraying themselves in the face. Sally seemed to understand me. Her struggling gradually eased. She pressed her huge head against my forelimbs in grievance, as if protesting coquettishly. Then, I looked at those dozens of defective ones spinning in circles. Under my command, these hybrids were thoroughly cleaned out. Half a month later, Sally's egg production reached its peak. Her body surface accumulated a large amount of acidic secretions and molting residue. Seeing this, I could hardly stand it. There's a river about 50 meters ahead of Sally. Go wash yourself there. Hearing this, Sally seemed to sense my distaste. Her antennae drooped to the ground unhappily, but she still obediently moved away. After she left, I started carefully examining the piles of white shells, assessing the hatching progress of the new group. Before long, Sally's call suddenly came from the direction of the underground river. Terrified, I sprang upright. Something was wrong, so I immediately mobilized 50 evolved soldiers and 30 acidic soldiers, rushing at full speed toward the underground river. Arriving at the shore, I saw Sally angrily waving her forelimbs. 6 mutant aquatic ants skimmed rapidly along the water's surface, and in the blink of an eye, they closed in on the diving area. Meanwhile, my analysis panel quickly gave me the data. Because Sally's massive body was very clumsy in the water, unable to dodge these swift enemies, she could only send out a distress signal. After receiving the signal, I immediately waved my forelimbs high. Acid ants attack. Target, water surface, fan-shaped spray. With the order given, 30 acidic soldiers immediately moved forward and formed ranks. They all lined up aiming at the water ahead of the riverbank and sprayed high-pressure acid fiercely. Facing this sudden attack, the aquatic hybrids twisted nimbly, dodging the direct hit, and kept pushing forward relentlessly. However, they failed to notice that the acid had mixed into the water, completely ruining the balance of the surface. The 2 aquatic hybrids charging in front just entered the acid zone and instantly malfunctioned. Their bodies crashed heavily into the water. Seeing this, I again swung my forelimbs forcefully. Soldier ants into the water. Kill. 10 evolved soldiers that got the order immediately jumped into the shallow water. They wielded their metallic jaws, mercilessly cutting the aquatic ants in half. The remaining 4 aquatic ants instantly stopped gliding, trying to turn back and escape to deeper water. But the acidic ice wings gave them no chance, spraying another blast of acid, completely cutting off their retreat. Splattering acid hit their backs precisely, causing them to lose balance and fall into the water. They were then all slaughtered by the incoming evolved soldier ants. After the crisis was resolved, Sally struggled ashore from the shallows. She let her antennae droop and sent me pheromones of gratitude and submission, but I paid no mind to her habits. Instead, I locked my compound eyes onto the river above. With a sharp, grating vibration sound, hundreds of flying ants over 30 centimeters long suddenly burst into view and swarmed into the underground river space. The analyzer instantly popped up a red warning. Incoming, mutant fire poison flying ants. Their traits, high temperature resistance and fire spray, spitting and aerial suppression. The moment they appeared, the swarm went straight into dive mode, and dozens of scorching flames rained down from above, charging directly toward our riverbank position. Faced with the overwhelming firestorm, I struck the ground fiercely with my forelimb, ordering everyone to scatter. Acid ants, adjust direction and shoot upward. The soldier ants quickly dispersed and sought cover. The acidic soldiers raised their heads and sprayed thick green acid at the sky. The strong acid collided violently with the flames in midair, instantly vaporizing into clouds of sharp-smelling white mist. Despite the quick dispersal, a few evolved soldiers still couldn't dodge in time and were struck by the flames. They rolled back and forth on the ground in pain,
taking advantage of the chaos.
I quickly locked onto the leader in the swarm. At that moment, he hovered 10 meters above, commanding the swarm to catch the king before the soldiers. I decisively took 2 steps back. Then 6 soldiers unleashed powerful bursts simultaneously, their whole bodies shooting like shells toward the rock wall. Using the protrusions, I jumped upward over and over, soon reaching a height parallel to the flying ant leader. Right after, I slammed my thick hind legs heavily against the rock wall. Using the recoil, I leapt mid-air toward the flying ant leader. The leader of the flying ants was still hovering in mid-air. He sensed a deadly threat. He instantly turned his head. His tail mercilessly sprayed a thick stream of fire. Faced with the raging flames rushing at me, I neither dodged nor avoided. I allowed the violent flames to completely engulf my body. The metallic coating on my surface perfectly insulated me from the deadly heat, letting me pass through the wall of fire without a scratch. Once I closed in on my target, at the same time I opened my sharp jaws wide. I fiercely bit down on his cervical nerve cluster, with a crisp, shattering sound. I directly crushed his tough shell with my bite. Having suffered a severe injury, the flying ant leader began to struggle violently. His body lost its balance and took me plummeting toward the ground at full speed. At the moment of landing, I deftly adjusted my posture, using his body as a cushion to soften the impact. Meanwhile, my jaws powered up again suddenly, completely severing his head. With the leader's death, the system immediately popped up a flashing prompt box. Congratulations, host, for successfully slaying the mutant fire poison flying ant. Leader gene extractable. Advanced fire attribute gene. Initiating extraordinary evolution for the host. As the notification sound faded, a surge of immense energy suddenly erupted from my abdomen. It surged wildly through all the meridians in my body. The intense evolutionary reaction left me unable to stay upright. I collapsed heavily to the ground. Immediately, my surface began uncontrollably secreting a large amount of mucus. This mucus quickly hardened once exposed to air, forming a sturdy cocoon, completely wrapping me inside. Inside the sealed cocoon, my body began undergoing a complete transformation.
10 minutes later,
The dark red surface of the cocoon finally showed lines of fine cracks. My forelegs suddenly powered up, tearing open the heavy armor directly. I stood back up again. My body length has now surged to an astonishing 1/2 meter. My entire body is covered in heavy armor. The edges of my massive mandibles are lined with fierce serrated teeth. Now I am not only immune to regular high temperatures and strong acid corrosion, but I've also successfully unlocked new innate skills: dimensional shift and aerial suppression. I can feel a constant surge of power within me. Then I look up at the chaotic swarm of flying ants in the air. I immediately activate my new talent, aerial suppression. In an instant, the air density around me rises dramatically. Affected by this, the flying ants desperately trying to ascend are all frozen in midair. The speed at which they flap their wings becomes extremely slow and heavy, while they've lost mobility. I quickly lock onto the nearest group of flying ants and decisively activate dimensional shift. With a wave of spatial distortion, my body vanishes from the ground and instantly reappears 3 meters up in the air, positioned precisely above the swarm of flying ants, giving them no time to react. My massive, dark red mandible slices through the air with a whooshing sound. With just one strike, 5 flying ants are swiftly slashed in half. After finishing them off, I land steadily back on the ground. I step over the scattered remains and walk straight to the corpse of the flying ant leader. My huge jaws snap open and crush its chest armor. I rip out the core nerve ganglion and swallow it. A system panel pops up in my mind, successfully fused with high-level fire attribute genes. Back armor restructuring. Heavy armor mode unlocked. Just as the notification sounds, a fierce tearing sensation hits my back. Then the heavy armor splits open slowly on both sides, and a pair of large, semi-transparent demonic wings springs out. I tentatively channel energy into them. The wings immediately start vibrating at high frequency. Due to my current size, I can no longer stay hidden underground, so I look up into the distance above. Looks like I'll need to develop on the surface from now on. A few days later, accompanied by evolved soldier ants and acid soldier ants, I arrive at the edge of an abandoned mine on the surface. Just as I poke my head out, I spot about 50 meters ahead 2 people wearing suits emblazoned with Starlight Biotech's logo. Protective suits, who are relaxing next to an SUV, smoking. Apparently noticing the commotion, they both turn around at once. When they see me, the man on the left freezes midair, cigarette stuck between his fingers. What is that thing? How is it so big? Could it be a mutant ant? The short guy beside him reacts instantly. He quickly pulls out a tactical terminal and aims the camera straight at me. Start filming, this is huge news. I immediately lead the ant swarm past them from the side. After all, I don't want to get too involved with humans yet. But the humans don't let me go. Just an hour later, 3 armored off-road vehicles come speeding down the main mining road. The convoy suddenly brakes hard 30 meters ahead of me. Then, 10 fully armed combat troopers jump out instantly and surround me in a tight, fan-shaped formation. The captain in the lead raises a wide-caliber launcher. Orders from the director: capture this leader-class mutant alive. Bounty doubled. Prepare polymer restraint nets. Tranquilizer guns for cover. Hearing these commands, I immediately stop in my tracks and fix my compound eyes firmly on these clueless humans. Just then, that wide caliber launcher emits a deep, muffled boom. A metal net shimmering with a blue glow shoots toward me, right over my head. I instantly activate dimensional shift, and a second later, my body vanishes from its spot. The metal net crashes violently into the tunnel wall, with the target lost. The surrounding team members look around in panic. What's going on? The target disappeared. Radar isn't picking up anything either, while they're searching everywhere. At that moment, I'm already suspended 3 meters above their heads. The high-frequency vibration of my demonic wings causes a powerful sound, keeping me hovering steadily in midair. Then, I activate aerial suppression without hesitation. Under this invisible, terrifying pressure, the 10 troopers below are instantly paralyzed, as if they've been hit with a paralysis spell. A few of the weaker ones can't bear it. Their knees buckle, dropping directly to the ground, barely able to gasp for air with their mouths wide open. Taking advantage of this opportunity, I suddenly fold up my wings and slam hard onto the captain's SUV hood. With a huge impact, the tough alloy hood instantly caves in downward. Then I make a horizontal slicing motion above. A loud crack. The heavy machine gun on top of the SUV gets chopped in half by me. Seeing this, the captain drops to the ground in terror. Open fire! This mutant ant has gone crazy. Following his order, a few tranquilizer darts are fired at me, but they bounce right off my dark red armor. I look away disdainfully at the acid rain soldier ants who have been following closely behind. Attack. Let's show these humans what we're capable of. The acid soldiers immediately spray deadly, high-pressure acid. Under its corrosive power, the SUV's bulletproof glass starts smoking and quickly melts into a pool of slag. Faced with this overwhelming force, the human team's psychological defenses finally break completely. They scramble frantically into the remaining intact vehicles and stomp down the gas pedal with everything they've got, fleeing in panic. As I watch them run away, maybe it's time to interact with humans. Perfect time to see what goodies the human camp has. Meanwhile, at Starlight Biotech's secret research outpost, the atmosphere is extremely tense. Moments ago, that fleeing captain staggers into the base gate. Director, we failed to capture the ant can teleport. Our armor can't even penetrate its shell. Upon hearing this report, a supervisor in a white lab coat storms out of the control room in anger. Useless! You can't even handle a bunch of ants. But before the supervisor can do anything else, the ground outside the outpost suddenly starts shaking, accompanied by a deafening roar. The 3-meter-thick concrete wall is smashed apart. 3 mutated rock-armored giant lizards, each over 5 meters long, crawl in. The supervisor recoils in fear. From the waste discharge area, mutant giant lizards. How did they get here? Open fire. Defend immediately. The next second, the outpost's automated defense cannons activate and unleash a barrage of fire. But they can barely leave little white dents and can't deal any real damage. After being attacked, the lead giant lizard is completely enraged. It suddenly opens its massive bloody maw. It bit down on a nearby off-road vehicle and smashed it hard at the control room. Under such a ferocious onslaught, the human soldiers inside the camp instantly fell into chaos. Meanwhile, after a long flight, I had already arrived above this outpost. In an instant, I analyzed and provided detailed data. Mutated rock-armored giant lizard, absolute defense, deadly poison, high-value defensive gene bank. Seeing this, I twitched my antennae. Perfect. I can test my new abilities on you. Without hesitation, I folded my demon wings and dove down. In a critical moment, only 10 meters above the ground, I suddenly opened my giant jaws, quickly mobilizing the high-level fire attribute gene I just fused within me. In an instant, a dark red flame rapidly condensed in my breath, then turned into an incredibly thick blast and shot straight at the head of the lead giant lizard. Feeling that terrifying heat, this giant lizard instinctively tried to twist its body to dodge, but I was already prepared. As I breathed fire, I instantly activated air domain suppression. Under this powerful force of suppression, the giant lizard's massive body suddenly dropped. Its movements instantly became extremely slow. The next second, the flames struck its head with pinpoint accuracy. Impenetrable rock scales, under the extreme heat, quickly turned red, and countless cracks began to appear. Taking this opportunity, my pincers gripped tightly between the gaps in its scales, aiming at its neck, that already scorched and cracked armor. I bit down with all my strength, accompanied by a teeth-chilling cracking sound, directly pierced through the eyelid it took pride in, and at the same time severed the core spinal nerve below. Reportedly, it struggled for only a few seconds, before collapsing to the ground with a loud thud. Seeing their companion brutally killed, the other two giant lizards immediately gave up their attack on the humans and turned their aggression toward me, fiercely spit deadly venom in my direction. I remained completely calm. My whole body instantly lifted and soared into the air. The venom that missed could only land on the corpse of the giant lizard below, making a sizzling, corrosive sound. After dodging the attack, I immediately ordered the ant swarm waiting on the ground to strike back. The acid soldier ants quickly formed ranks upon receiving the command, and fired 30 jets of highly corrosive acid. When the strong acid met the venom secreted on its skin, an extremely intense chemical reaction occurred instantly. A thick, pungent, toxic smoke rose up. The intense pain completely crippled the giant lizard, leaving it writhing on the ground in agony. At this moment, the system came online right on time. Congratulations, host, for slaying the mutant rock-armored giant lizard. Armor density increased by 30%. You have gained 8,000 evolution points. Current evolution points, 30,000. To evolve into the fusion blazing ant, you still need 500,000 evolution points. Host, please keep up the good work. After reviewing the numbers on the panel, I shook my antennae, still wanting more. These three big guys really provided a lot of energy. But I'm still far away from my next evolutionary leap. There's still a long way to go. Looks like I'll have to defeat even more powerful enemies. Afterward, I flicked off the mud from my forelegs in disgust, and set my sights on the control room not far away. At this moment, the supervisor from Starlight Biotech and a few surviving soldiers were all trembling and hiding behind thick bulletproof glass. The supervisor slowly opened the security door and walked out alone, forcing himself to be brave. He pushed a black metal case onto the open ground in front. Then, as if avoiding a plague, he quickly retreated inside the safe room. These are all for you. You fought those giant lizards, so please don't attack us. I used my sharp foreleg to gently lift the lead.
Inside, I saw
Several high-capacity energy storage batteries neatly arranged, along with a military-grade tactical tablet still glowing faintly. I glanced nonchalantly at the tablet's screen and saw it clearly displaying a high-definition map of this area. A detailed marker popped up on the screen. The location was labeled as Dark Hunt, and there is a suspected ultra-giant mutant forest python there, rated as extremely dangerous. I looked off toward the far end of the horizon. Where there's danger, there's gain. If I want to evolve, there's no choice but to go all out now. With that decided, I immediately turned and commanded the ant swarm. The first squad of 50 evolved soldier ants is to hold this position.
take full control of the outpost.
If anyone gets close, take them out. All flying soldiers and acid soldiers will follow me. Soon we arrived at the Rift Valley. Inside, the ravine was swirling with strange gases. I hovered steadily in midair. 2 flying soldier ants go check out those toxic vapors. But just as the flying soldier ants touched the miasma, their exoskeleton surfaces started to develop a strange pale hue. Even their tough armor began to rapidly soften and dissolve. In just 3 seconds, their wings were completely corroded. Both broken bodies fell straight into the chasm. Seeing this happen, I looked down for a quick scan. Analysis showed the air here is filled with highly concentrated neurotoxic, corrosive miasma, enough to completely negate ordinary exoskeleton defenses. I crossed my forelegs over my chest. If ordinary soldier ants go down, it really would be suicide. But as for that forest python, I am determined to have it, to clear a path. I quickly landed in front of the ant swarm and immediately activated advanced fire attribute gene nodes. In an instant, a surge of intense heat flooded through me. My back armor gathered all its energy onto my magic wings. I opened my powerful jaws and began to vibrate my wings at high frequency. At an extremely high speed, fiery flames instantly erupted from the edges of my wings, forming a giant whirlwind of fire in midair that crashed fiercely into the purplish-red miasma. Those deadly toxins, faced with extreme heat, were instantly evaporated and destroyed by the flames. Very quickly, a vacuum corridor was burned through the thick fog. Surrounded by the firestorm, I charged straight into the passage. Simultaneously, I waved my antennae to order my troops to maintain assault formation. Stay close to me as we continued diving down to 500 meters deep. The walls on both sides suddenly became incredibly steep. Dried leaves covering the rocks began to peel off in sheets. Looking closer, it turns out those aren't leaves at all, but tens of thousands of mutant dead leaf poison moths, all clinging tightly to the rock walls, wildly shaking. Their plump abdomens, huge amounts of ashy white powder, spewed out from their tails. At this point, the analyzer rapidly updated its data. Target confirmed as mutant deadleaf poison moths. They are symbiotic beasts of the forest python, and their trait is dispersing highly flammable toxic powder. Any contact with open flame will trigger a terrifying dust explosion. I tensed up sharply. These bugs actually know how to work together. They're trying to use my fire whirlwind to cause a dust explosion and blow me up. How naive. I immediately switched the energy inside my body and forcibly stopped the fire attribute genes. Without the barrier of flame, the surrounding miasma instantly rushed in. Then I unleashed my aerial pressure to the max. Violent energy erupted outward in all directions, causing the air density within 100 meters to skyrocket. It felt as if even space itself had solidified. Under this absolute force, the torrents of flammable poison powder hung suspended in midair, while the tens of thousands of dead leaf poison moths were frozen in place above the rocky walls, unable to move. Next, I ordered acid rain to spray acid, instantly wiping out all the dead leaf poison moths. After clearing out the threat, I landed on a huge stone platform. There, the platform was already covered with a layer of dead moth remains. I carefully advanced, using my sharp forelegs to flick aside the green slime on the ground, then immediately rose up high to survey the whole platform from above. The scene before me sent a chill through my heart. All the remains were bizarrely connected head to tail, forming a precise, regular six-pointed star pattern. Even the broken antennae of the moths fit perfectly and seamlessly at the geometric nodes of the lines. I stared into the abyss. This is definitely not ordinary animal instinct. This ultra-giant mutant forest python actually knows how to control symbiotic beasts to form battle formations. It's clear that it's been waiting for me here. Before I could finish this thought, a thunderous roar suddenly erupted from the depths of the ravine, followed by the entire abyss shaking violently. A giant python over 10 meters long burst out of the rock. Its icy vertical pupils locked firmly on me to avoid unnecessary casualties. I immediately waved my forelegs to order the soldiers to retreat to the edge of the ravine and wait. Just as the ants had finished pulling back, the giant python suddenly lunged. It lunged at me with its massive jaws wide open. Seeing this, I quickly climbed higher into the air. After the giant python snapped at nothing, it twisted its massive body and swung its huge tail fiercely. I felt a powerful gust of wind coming at me. I immediately folded my demonic wings behind me and narrowly dodged the strike by free-falling straight down. Meanwhile, the python's tail slammed hard into the cliff face, smashing a huge crater into the rock. Missing its attack multiple times made the python furious. It instantly flicked its tongue and lunged at me again. I immediately activated Dimensional Shift, and in a flash appeared directly above the python's head. Then I aimed at the seam of its skull, preparing to pierce through its nervous center in one strike. Just as I was about to succeed, I suddenly noticed that right in the center of the python's skull was embedded a piece of metal bearing the Starlight Biotech logo, a control device. At the same time, several drones suddenly rose above the ravine. The proud voice of the outpost supervisor came from the loudspeaker. "Monster, did you really think I'd hand over the supplies for nothing? This is the company's latest cyber-enhanced Behemoth. Just be a good test subject for its field data collection. Hearing that, I forced myself to abort the fatal attack. A cold sneer appeared at the corner of my mouth. "Wanna see data? I'll let you see all you want." As soon as the words left my mouth, I vanished instantly, and then appeared 50 meters high, behind the python's flank. After losing its target, the python thrashed its body in agitation, searching everywhere for any sign of me. Seizing the chance, I quickly scanned the surrounding cliff walls and spotted military surveillance cameras hidden in the crevices. To provoke them further, I purposely lowered my altitude and hovered quietly in front of one of the cameras. I gave the camera a mocking gesture with my forelimb. "Come on, idiots." Provoked, the python let out a piercing hiss. Its massive body lunged straight at me. Just as it was about to hit me, I shifted again, disappearing into thin air. The enormous python couldn't stop its momentum and crashed headfirst into the solid cliff face. That hidden camera and the surrounding rocks were instantly destroyed. Next, I used my spatial abilities to blink repeatedly, appearing precisely next to every single camera. The berserk python slammed and spat venom everywhere, obliterating all the hidden cameras. After clearing out all the surveillance, I teleported right in front of that drone. Slowly, I raised my forelimb, facing the camera, and made a provocative gesture with my throat. "You messed with me. That's your bad luck." Right after that, I crushed the drone in front of me. Once the surveillance signal was completely lost, the control panel on top of the giant python glowed bright blue, seeming to enter some kind of berserk mode. The python quickly coiled itself into a formation, opened its huge jaws, and began frantically gathering its destructive energy. I didn't back down at all. I pulled out the high-energy battery my supervisor gave me from my back and set the airspace micro-pressure to maximum power. Under the terrifying gravity suppression, the giant python's massive body was suddenly forced downward, even interrupting its energy-gathering action. Seeing this, I precisely launched the battery right into its mouth, quickly mobilized the fire element gene within me, opened my maw and unleashed a searing column of fire. The blazing flames instantly surged down the python's throat, directly detonating the high-energy battery. A muffled explosion immediately came from inside the giant python. Wild energy rampaged within its body. Its massive form thrashed violently across the ground, trying to alleviate the excruciating pain. Moments later, its abdomen exploded loudly. Flesh and mechanical parts scattered everywhere. The python's mangled head crashed heavily to the ground, staying completely still. After the battle ended, the system panel immediately popped up with several clear lines of text. "Congratulations, host. You have eliminated the biomechanical mutant python, acquired 100,000 evolution points, obtained a high-level toxic gene fragment, obtained a mechanical fusion core. Current evolution points, 230,000. As the prompt ended, devouring the mechanical fusion core triggered a violent rejection reaction. The toxin and fire elements violently clashed inside my body, and I completely lost control of my form, plunging straight down from midair. At that moment, the roar of heavy engines came from above the rift. The leader of the 12 Abyss special mechas that had descended pointed at me. Cody name, Lone Wolf. Arrived at target location. Confirmed mechanical mutant python destroyed. Target mutation detected. Target is in a collapsed rigid state. Clear all mutant arthropods in the area. Leave none. Outskirts stay on standby, including the evolved soldier ants and acid soldier ants. Sensing the crisis, 50 evolved soldier ants quickly tightened their formation, building a meat wall with their bodies on the edge of the pit. The acid soldier ants followed closely behind, preparing to spray acid. Lone Wolf raised both his arm-mounted laser cannons and opened fire. All 12 mechas fired beams at once, instantly piercing the ice wings. Seeing this, the rear acid ice wings quickly closed the gap. Their abdomens contracted violently, and dozens of streams of high-pressure acid shot skyward, aiming directly at the midair.
Mechas, the acid,
Bounced off the special anti-corrosion coating on the external armor. Sitting in the cockpit of his mecha, Lone Wolf said, "Low-level arthropods still dare to challenge the pinnacle of Starlight technology?" He operated the joystick, and both laser cannons on the Mitcha's arms charged up again. Second volley. Clear out this trash. 12 beams rained down again, completely breaking the Ice Wing's defenses. At this point, I'm lying at the bottom of the pit, the armor on my back severely cracked, and the just devoured mechanical fusion core is lodged in my chest. Rejecting this purely organic body, the system panel flashed an intense red light. Warning: host body experiencing severe rejection response. Vital signs dropping to 30%, 20%, 10%. Gene chain on the verge of collapse. Mechanical fusion core detected in dormant state. Forced activation conditions required. Urgently need massive external high-dimensional energy to guide rejection fusion. I knew doing it on my own was useless now. Only with the power of the Meeches could I achieve fusion. So I managed to move my compound eyes and looked toward Lone Wolf operating the machine. Summoning all my strength, I raised my middle finger. Seeing this, Lone Wolf slammed the console. Still putting up an attitude? Looks like you don't know how to quit while you're ahead. Let me put you out of your misery. With that, he hit the all band come button. There's still life detected at the bottom of the pit. That mutated target isn't dead yet? Everyone, attention. Remove weapon restrictions. Set laser cannon power to over 200%. Focus fire on the pit bottom. Vaporize it completely. All 12 Meeches engines roared. White light frantically gathered at their muzzles, and 12 devastating beams poured downward, converging precisely at the center of the pit floor. I'm lying at the bottom, facing the surge of heat. The beams strike my armor. When the system alert suddenly sounded, high-dimensional energy detected incoming. Energy level assessed as extremely high. Mechanical fusion core forcibly activated. Reaction suppression in process. Energy guidance underway. The laser energy didn't melt me, but instead flowed through the armor's cracks, into the mechanical core in my chest. The conflicting attributes, under this extreme external energy pressure, were forcibly melded together by the mechanical core. My form began to reconstruct itself. The dark red bio-armor peeled away, revealing a layer of fusion. As cutting-edge mechanical exoskeleton rapidly formed, the broken demon wings on my back fell off. As 2 pairs of high-frequency ionizers burst out, the flames from my mouth turned to dark green nether poison flames. Lone Wolf stared at the energy index on the screen skyrocketing, and yanked back the joystick. Cease fire. A team member's voice came over the comm. Did the target's vital signs vanish? Lone Wolf fixed his eyes on the radar. The red dot at the center of the screen not only didn't disappear, but in fact began swelling at a terrifying rate, eventually filling the entire display. He frantically pounded the control panel. Disperse. No sooner had he spoken than a monstrous energy storm exploded from the pit bottom. I gave a jolt to the high-frequency ionizers on my back, and instantly lifted myself into the air. As I opened my jaws, dark green nether poison flames spilled out. The system panel popped up. Fusion successful. Congratulations, host. You have acquired a new form. Mechanical Hellfire Eye Blade. Armor defense increased by 300%. Acquired exclusive skill, Nether Poison Fire. A team member suddenly smashed the come button. What kind of monster is that? Lone Wolf gripped the controls, forcing himself to calm down. What's there to panic about? No matter how tough its armor is, it's still just a bug. Keep your distance. Activate the high-frequency electromagnetic net. I refuse to believe we can't take down a bug. I instantly activated Dimensional Leap. 0.1 seconds later, I appeared right in front of Lone Wolf's mecha. He stared in horror. How is this possible? I raised my forelimb, now evolved into a dark gold mechanical form, and drove it hard into the mecha's special chest armor. The limb pierced straight through the armor layer. Lone Wolf saw the mechanical appendage stop right at his own throat, trembling all over. I opened my jaws. Nether poison fire surged in through the breach and flooded the cockpit, instantly turning Lone Wolf and all the precision instruments inside into a boiling pool of molten metal. I pulled out my forelimb and kicked the now useless hunk of junk down below, then locked onto the remaining 11 mechas with my compound eyes. The team members frantically pushed their joysticks. The captain is dead. This ant has gone insane. Run! I didn't give them any chance. With each jump initiated, Another mech gets torn apart barehanded. It's then burned to ashes by nether venom flame. In just 10 seconds, all 12 Abyss special mechs were wiped out. I slowly landed at the edge of the deep pit. The remaining soldier ants quickly gathered around. They lowered their heads, showing their absolute submission to me. At that moment, the system issued a harsh warning alert. Warning. An ultra-high energy life form detected deep underground. It's awakening. Energy level, catastrophe class. The target has locked onto the host's coordinates. The next second, the rock walls deep in the rift began to collapse massively. I fluttered my high-frequency ion wings and blasted out nether venom flame. The dark green flames instantly melted through the metal armor. Immediately after, a piercing scream came from the cockpit, but the sound soon fell silent. After confirming there were no threats around, I landed on the nearest mech wreckage. I tore open its heavy special armor like slicing tofu, and then split it wide open, directly exposing the blue glowing condensed energy core. I swallowed it whole. Ding! Consumed a high-level mechanical core. Evolution points, plus 10,000. Energy reserves increased by 15%. After tasting the benefits, I quickly shuttled between the wreckages, consuming 11 energy cores in succession. My evolution points skyrocketed to 130,000. Just as I was about to clean up the battlefield, from the remains of Wu Lang's mech, which had already turned to molten metal, a silver metal disc suddenly ejected out. The disc hovered steadily in midair and projected a holographic image of a woman. She was wearing a pure white lab coat, with a pair of rimless glasses perched on her nose. Those 12 Abyss special mechs cost over 3 billion star coins. And now they're gone, just like that. Perfect killing machines. Your live combat data far exceeds the simulations in the lab.
Hearing this,
My lateral eyes locked tightly onto the projection floating in midair. The woman smiled. Don't be angry. Did you really think you were just a low-level mutant by natural evolution? Actually, you are Xingyao Bio Unit No.1, the core prototype of Project God creation. Inside your body, we had already artificially implanted inhibition gene elements. So, devouring mechanical cores isn't evolution at all. It's just activating the settings you already had. I stared at him intently, trying to figure out if what he said was true. Seeing that I didn't react, the woman pressed a button in the air. No wonder you're a lower life form. Even after all I've said, you still don't get it. As soon as she finished speaking, a strange audio clip was projected by the hologram device. The high-frequency vibrations penetrated my shell, reaching straight into my neural center. Warning, unknown frequency intrusion detected. Warning, primary gene lock is being forcibly interfered with. In an instant, the system panel was completely covered by a blinding red light. Countless lines of garbled code frantically scrolled across the screen. Then an indescribable wave of pain erupted in my mind. I completely lost my balance and crashed hard onto the rocks at the bottom of the pit. Frame after frame of unfamiliar images were forcefully embedded deep into my consciousness. In those images, I was lying on an operating table in a white lab coat, my limbs tightly fastened by high-strength alloy restraints. And right in front of my eyes was the woman from the hologram, Suye, chief genetic engineer of Xingyao Biotech. Suye was holding a syringe filled with glowing green liquid, looking down at me from above. Lin Yuan, your gene sequence is the 1 in a million perfect fit. Divine creation No. 01 will be Xingyao's ultimate weapon to control the abyss. I thrashed my head wildly. Suye, you're insane. I'm human. I'm your colleague. Suye stabbed the syringe into my carotid artery. For Xingyao's future, your sacrifice is worth it. As the liquid entered my veins, the genes of the abyss began to mercilessly tear apart my DNA strands. I watched as large patches of my human skin peeled away, replaced by a hard black exoskeleton. My bones stretched and twisted. When that horrifying memory ended, the pain finally ebbed away like a tide, and the garbled codes on the system panel stopped scrolling. I shakily got back up from the pile of rubble, my anger burning hotter than ever. Suye's lips curled into a cold smile in the projection. Remember now? Specimen 01, stay where you are. The recovery squad is already on the way. I suddenly opened my jaws wide, and without hesitation unleashed a surge of nether venom flame. The raging fire instantly engulfed the holographic projection in midair. The terrifying heat burned that metal disc to ashes in a blink, and the woman's image vanished completely with it. Ding, system reboot complete. Host's core consciousness detected as awakened. Epic main quest triggered. Destroy Xingyao Biotech. Seek the lost humanity. I spread my high-frequency ion wings, leading my submissive soldier ants straight to the Xingyao Biotech complex. Nether venom flame burned every defensive line to ashes. I stood atop the ruins, a glint passing through my compound eyes. The king ruling the abyss, and also the soul searching for itself. Xingyao is annihilated, and at last I am redeemed.